Some jurisdictions regulate or prohibit the use of satellite communication devices. It is the responsibility of the user to know and follow all applicable laws in the jurisdiction where the device is intended to be used.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about you. 'Cause our hosts Dowe and John wanna hear about the fishing you do. 'Cause we took our garment to the ends of the sea. The red heart led us where we needed to be. Nothing we can't find in all the water. We want to hear about the holes and the beds and the reef, the keepers and the roughs and the catch and release. Let's talk about everything from reel to bobber behind the Chartplotter. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Garmin's Marine Podcast Behind the Chartplotter. We're your host. I'm Dow Thornton.
And I'm John Spittle.
Join us on Behind the Chartplotter as we talk to pro anglers, industry insiders, and our occasional secret guests. John, how are you doing?
Doing great today, Dow.
Yep, me too. Good. Hey, before we get to our special guest, I just want to talk to you a minute, John. I was reading an article last week about a hunter up in Canada. Kind of got lost in the woods. The fog came in, and he had to use, he had no cell phone service. So again, disoriented. So he had to use his Garmin InReach. Had to use the SOS feature to get help. And for the listeners out there that aren't familiar with the Garmin InReach products, they're basically global satellite communicators. They allow the user the ability to communicate either via two-way texting to friends and family, or like in this case, you can trigger an SOS feature that goes to a monitoring center that operates 24/7. And John, that reminded me of a story that you told me about an interaction you had with a customer in Florida. Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah, so this was a couple of years ago. I was doing an open house for one of our dealers, and I had a husband and wife team come up to me. I had my nice little Garmin booth there with all my marine units on display. And the wife asked me, do you guys make anything that's either a satellite phone or some way where I can connect with my husband? He does a lot of boat delivery from New Orleans to Tampa, and I don't want him to have to get on the satellite phone on the boat all the time. And I would just kind of like to let him know, where is he? When do I need to come down and pick him up when he comes into port and so forth? Showed him the InReach Mini, told him about every, two-way text satellite communicator with tracking features on it. So when he has it, she can see exactly where he is coming across the Gulf of Mexico. She was excited. He was like, I don't know if I really want anything like this. We talked about pricing and that they could purchase it right there at the dealer. And she was really excited about that because that's exactly what she was actually looking for. And so they talked, and then they went in and talked to one of the guys at the dealer and ended up ordering it. Come to find out, too, the husband had just finished building a boat or redoing a boat. And so she wanted the peace of mind when they go offshore that they were going to have some way to get in communications. So a month goes by. The dealer contacts me. He texts me on a Sunday, and he goes, John, you saved my customer's life. And that's the most chilling kind of text message that you could get. And I text him back and I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, call me tomorrow and we need to talk. So we talked and he told me the story. He said, do you remember the couple you talked to about a month ago? Yes, I do. Well, they did purchase the InReach Mini. And on Saturday, that prior weekend, they were 30 miles off the west coast of Florida and their boat went down. And it was him and his father-in-law, her father. The boat went down. They had the InReach and they were saved because they had the SOS feature on the InReach and they came out and got them. And she said, and that just sends chills through you when you hear a story like that.
That's crazy. I know, that InReach, I carry the InReach Mini and I have it on my backpack everywhere I go. I don't care if I'm driving across, town. It's in the car. It's with me. And there's so many times I'm offshore. I lose my cell service at probably about 10 miles offshore. So I can two-way text with my wife, tell her, hey, I'm going to stay out. Everything's okay. But it's just, peace of mind. So that's a great story.
Yep.
All right. So now let's get to our special guest for today. John, why don't you tell the listeners who we have today?
Well, today our special guest is Captain Vinnie LaSorsa. Welcome, Vinnie, to Garmin's Behind the Chartplotter.
All right. Thank you both. Thanks, Dow. Thanks, John. Thank you both for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So to give you a little bit of background on Vinnie, Vinnie is a professional fisherman, an avid outdoorsman, husband, father, and founder and president of Freedom Fighter Outdoors. But wait, there's more. At the age of 23, he started his journey to one of the most interesting jobs we in the boating industry could think of. He is the legendary singer and songwriter Jimmy Buffett's boat captain. Thanks again for joining us. And hey, Dow, how about we get to the hard-hitting questions?
Sounds good, John. Welcome to the show, Captain Vinnie. So let's jump into the first question. I'm sure everybody wants to know, how the heck did you land a job as Jimmy Buffett's boat captain?
So I would tell you that that's probably the question that most people ask me. And I would tell you it's to give myself any credit, I would say I worked pretty hard at a young age to try to become a captain. But a lot of it had to do with right time, right place, and a little bit of luck, for sure. When I was in Rum Cay, Bahamas, working on an old Hatteras, and the whole Jimmy Buffett fleet came in. Jimmy's fleet captain, Spider Andresen, knew a bunch of mutual friends of mine. Guys like John Brownlee, Roy Merritt, Tom Green, like all these like kind of iconic people in the industry. And Spider's son Tyler left running the fishing program to go run the yacht, and Spider started looking for somebody, and my name came up a couple times, and he had realized he just met me in Rum Cay like a month prior. So it kind of just fell into place. I was one of the youngest people Spider interviewed, and I thought that was going to hurt me, but it actually ended up helping me because Jimmy didn't want anybody with bad habits. That's
a great story. Got right place at the right time. And again, you had the work ethic, and kind of like I'm teaching my kids, work hard.
So what was the first boat that you ran for Jimmy?
It was that 42 Rybovich walk-around that he built in 2003. I came on in 2005 after Tyler ran it for a little while. And that was the first boat that I ran. I spent a lot of time on that boat. I did 6,300 hours on that boat and 14 years on that boat.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
You guys still own that boat?
Actually, I don't think a lot of people really know this, but Mr. Buffett donated it to a children's charity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow,
nice.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Many of our listeners know about Jimmy's Custom 42 Freeman, the Last Mango, which was christened, I believe, in the summer of 2019. Why did you guys choose that hull and design?
So we went with that 42 Freeman hull. To be short and concise with it, it was because of the ride, the speed, and the efficiency. Those three things were why we chose to go with that hull. If anybody listening has ever been on a Freeman hull, it rides like no other catamaran out there, in my opinion. And I think a lot of other people's opinion too. There's a lot of magic in that hull. And once we rode on it, we decided that was the platform we were going to build, our next project on.
Yeah, the Freemans do ride really nice. I've been on a few myself. What's really interesting to me, Captain Vinnie, is this boat is loaded with the latest and greatest Garmin electronics. What made you and Mr. Buffett choose Garmin?
I would say, if I had to tell you real quick why reliability and ease of use, just how intuitive it is. The whole operating system and platform on the Garmin the whole Garmin system, it's so easy to navigate through quickly. And it makes sense. It's intuitive. And then the other thing is reliability, just because throughout the years we have had no issues. And any small issues, like technical issues I might have had, were resolved with a quick phone call. So you can't beat that.
Well, and I think that's the thing too. When we do boat shows or any events, those are the first two things that all the Garmin guys say too. It's important to be able to use your electronics without having to relearn it, and then they have to work. So I think that's what a lot of people are looking for.
Yeah, and then to get deeper into it, there's a lot to it that we feel that the Garmin electronics do better than anything else out there. So like we love the chirp sonar, that GSD 26 depth sounder module. We do a lot of everything from sword fishing to giant tuna fishing, and we rely on the sounder a lot for those, both of those types of fishing. So there's features that we also feel like can't be beat. So aside from the reliability.
And you went with complete digital switching on there, so you can control all of your switches directly from the Garmin screens themselves.
That's correct. Yeah, that Empire Bus system. The thing I'm most impressed with it is I know we kind of jumped on that early, and we have had absolutely no kinks, no issues, no bugs, no problems. That's pretty remarkable. And the reason I say this is because, when you jump on early with anything new, a lot of times there's some kinks to be worked out, and we've had absolutely no issues. And Kurt Bergstrom from Garmin, that did a lot of the designing of the system, like we hooked up hooker pumps, we put in dimmer switches, all things that had never been done before, and we've still had no issues. It's pretty remarkable.
Well, that's great to hear. Yeah,
for sure. It's one of the things a lot of people who come up to be like guests on board, that's one of the things they're most blown away by, is how we can control everything from the screen.
Yeah, and that's not an easy program to write to get everything to work there. So Captain Vinnie, in 2014, with the help of your wife, you started a nonprofit, Freedom Fighter Outdoors. Can you tell our listeners a little about the foundation and who it benefits?
Yeah, so I'll tell you real quick, not to be long-winded. We started taking injured veterans out fishing in 2009. And then from 2009 to 2014, we didn't incorporate or do a 501c3. We were just doing the trips. In February of 2014, we decided to start a 501c3. We called it Freedom Fighter Outdoors. And what we do is we do 4 to 5 large being 25 or so veterans, give or take a couple, per year fishing events. We do 2 to 3 smaller hunting events. And then every month we do small fishing events with 1 to 2 veterans. So throughout the year, there's a lot going on, but our biggest thing I think that we're most known for is these larger 4 to 5 year events where you have 25, 26 veterans come out, 5 to 6 boats take them out. They come in for a couple nights. We do dinner. They go fishing. We've now done offshore one day and inshore, like freshwater, the second. It's actually the third, because they come in for dinner. Second day we go saltwater. Third day we go freshwater. Some guys leave that night and some guys leave the morning of the fourth morning. So our events are getting a little longer. We're kind of not ramping up the quality a little bit. As more donations come in, you can kind of afford to do, better things and cooler things. But it benefits injured veterans. Our criteria to get, it's mostly word of mouth. All the veterans refer other veterans that they meet at the VA, the DAV, wherever these guys are spreading the word. Groups on Facebook, they spread the word. We get new veterans, and our criteria is you got to be 30% disabled by the VA or a Purple Heart recipient. But just to say this too, we do make exceptions. For example, what happens pretty often where we'll have a guy that's either Purple Heart or more than 30% disabled, and he'll say, "Hey, there's a guy I served with for a few years, 4 years, whatever it is. He was my battle buddy. He was there when I get injured. Can he come?" And he might not be disabled, in terms of the VA's eyes, and he might not have received a Purple Heart, but we allow that camaraderie and that brotherhood to kind of continue in something like this, because it means a lot to both of them that they can now do something like this together. So we do make exceptions, but our general criteria is 30% disabled, Purple Heart recipient. And we've had over 500 veterans come through, our events. So it's been pretty good.
Wow, that is great. And I'm sure the veterans love it. And just to get out on the water, it gives you a little bit of peace of mind that there are good people out there like yourself. And, speaking about that, what is the most fun part of your job?
I would say the most fun part of my job is, I wish I could give you 2 answers, because the 2 most fun parts of my job, if I had to tell you, is taking people that have either never been fishing or never caught the fish that they've hoped to or dreamed to catch, to do so. Like if they've never been fishing, getting them out on the water. And if they've always wanted to catch something, taking them on that experience and catching that fish they've always wanted to catch, because forever. Now they're connected to me in a way, and you feel like you're best friends forever. Like so many of their stories when they move on have to do with the boat or me or what happened. And then, you stay in touch, and they always want to tell you now what their next adventure is. And I'd say the second most fun part of my job is Jimmy's really creative, and really adventurous. And we've gone on some really good adventures, and I've seen places I would never have seen if I didn't work for a guy like him. So I enjoy the adventure part a lot, and seeing of new places. So those two things I would say are the most fun part of my job.
Yeah, it's funny how you said that like with me, I now enjoy when I go fishing. I'd rather have my friends and the family members catch fish. Sometimes I don't even put a rod in the hand. Just the enjoyment of seeing them catch fish is all I need. So what would be your perfect day on the water?
Perfect day on the water would be good weather, good food, because we like to eat a lot on the boat. Good food, good snacks. I want to tell you good fishing, but we've had days, some of the funniest and best days we've had on the water, the fishing wasn't that great, but we laughed a lot and told a lot of stories. I mean, so if I had to tell you the overall perfect day would include good fishing, but most of the time it's just that feeling of everybody's together, enjoying, relaxing, forgetting about stress, work, things, anything that's bothering them. You leave it all at the dock, you go out, you have a great day on the water. And, if fishing was good, I think that's a really good bonus. So I would say that pretty much wraps it up for me. If like you come back to the dock and you feel like you just had a phenomenal day and you left all the stress and you came back and you feel like you're, better for it.
Well, I think that's what we're actually seeing now. There's so many people that want to get out on the water during, these times, and they know that they can kind of get out and forget a little bit once they get out on the water.
I agree with you. That's to me the best part about being on the water, and the best day on the water. Like I said, I think it would include good food, good weather, good fishing, and good laughs.
I agree. All right, Captain Vinnie, we're now going to dive into what John and I call the not so serious questions. Okay. I hope you're ready. John, why don't you start us out?
All right. As a little kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I'll tell you, as a little kid, I didn't dream of being a captain. I kind of dreamed. My dad was a Secret Service agent, and I kind of wanted to do what he wanted to do as a kid. But I was obsessed with water and fishing. Every single weekend, I begged my dad to go fishing. So it's funny that I ended up doing this because I was always so obsessed with it. I just think as a kid, I didn't realize that you could do this kind of job. I didn't even know they existed. So
make money.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this was, as a kid, this is a hobby. This was a hobby to me. It wasn't a job. So I didn't see this as something you would be able to do as a career. So I didn't see myself doing this, but now that, look back, I'm not surprised at all by telling you the stories that, like, if we ever drove by a fishing pier, I would beg my dad to go take me. And if we even didn't fish, just walk down it so I could see what other people were catching. I was one of those kind of kids growing up. So it's not really a big shock that this ended up happening.
Yeah, it's great when like John and I, we both love this industry. It's a hobby of mine. So being able to basically, talk fishing, ride on boats all day. I mean, you can't beat it. Can't beat it. What advice would you give to someone pursuing the same career as you did?
I would say that the reason I believe I ended up where I am is because if you love something to the extent that I do, and you love something so much, you're probably going to be really good at it. So if if you have a passion and you want to pursue your passion, work as hard as you can, learn all you can, learn from others all you can. Cause that was my thing when I was younger. I kept trying to get jobs with the best captains I knew, and I would offer to work for no pay or the minimal pay just to work with them. And I realize now, looking back, that those captains that took a shot on me when I didn't really have any experience, but I kind of just wormed my way in by saying, listen, I'll work for free. I'll work for peanuts. I don't care. I just want to go. That's what got me where I am. And I've lost that feeling that there's a lot of, I've been around a lot of these younger kids, and they come to me and they'll say things like they just want to get on the fast track and go. And I've had to explain to them my story. And I said, listen, I did a lot of metal polishing. a lot of wiping up engine rooms and oil and all that before I got to touch the fishing stuff. I said, you gotta work your way up. And once you work your way up, Roy Merritt says all the time, it's one of his lines, is a little ambition goes a long way. And he said that to me when I was younger. And that's one of the things that's like really stuck with me, because he told me that at 19 years old. And I remember thinking like, Roy's one of those people. He will give you these one-liners like that. And many of them, I can tell you a bunch of them, many of them stick with me. And that's one of the ones that he said to me at 19 years old, when I went to him and begged him to see if I could get on a boat that was doing some traveling trips, because I wanted to learn a little bit. And he said, you're going to be all right, because he said, looked at me and said, a little ambition goes a long way. So I recite that to a lot of younger kids. The other thing I would say is networking and just being a good person and getting people to just the network you build will end up helping you, with referrals. You work for a good captain, he'll refer you to other captains. That's one thing I would tell any young people or anybody trying to get in the industry. I think that's pretty much it,
Well, and I think that's what Dow and I see too, being in this industry for such a long time. We see that if you're a people person and you have the drive, you can do whatever you really want in the marine industry, and people will notice you, and then you'll get to do exactly what you're doing right now. So
this industry is such a small industry, and everybody knows everybody. So, when I'm talking to people, especially at shows, try never to talk bad about the competition. We all make good product. So, but chances are we're going to run into each other. So, be respectful. Because everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
So, Captain Vinnie, you talked about as a kid, you always wanted to go fishing and have your dad take you out. What was the first boat that you owned or your family owned growing up?
The first boat my dad bought that we went fishing on was a 17 Aquasport. And we fished out of Annapolis, Maryland on the Chesapeake Bay. And when I was a kid, I tell a lot of younger guys that work with me, who were now in their early 20s. I tell them, when I was a kid, I remember the first time we caught a striped bass, or in Maryland, we called them rockfish. It was a huge deal, right? Everybody freaked out. This thing was like 20 inches long. Everybody freaked out. We've been trying for probably 2 years to catch one. Because I don't know if you guys remember how poor the striped bass fish, the fishery was in like the early mid 80s. And we were just in the Chesapeake Bay 2 weeks ago with Mr. Buffett and all the boats. You couldn't cast without catching a striped bass. So it's crazy to see how the fishing industry changes. Because when I was a kid, we would go catch bluefish like crazy because you really couldn't catch any striped bass. So 17 Aquasport, catching bluefish. Sometimes we'd catch some flounder, and we would really try to catch a rockfish because they weren't as prevalent as they are now when I was a kid. So that's what I grew up on. And then we kind of moved. My parents ended up. My dad traveled a lot because he was a Secret Service agent. So he got a condo in the Outer Banks for my mom to take me and my brothers. So then it turned into surf casting and doing a few charters on boats out of Morehead City in the summer with my dad, and it would evolve to more offshore obsession than it was anything else. So that's how it all formed together for me.
It's interesting because you always, when you remember your first boat, you always remember what you did, like your first fish that you caught. So that is important to a lot of people.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I thought it's funny when I look back at being 5 years old catching the bluefish. I remember feeling like they were the size of me, and I look back at the pictures and they were about they weren't even maybe half the size of me at the time. But I just remember thinking that they were 50 pounds, like in my mind they were 100 pounds, like these were huge. It's so funny to look back at how you felt that way when you were a kid and catching these monster bluefish, and then you look back and I look at the pictures and I'm holding them up with one hand. So funny.
Do you have any superstitions when it comes to fishing?
Yeah, I do have a couple. And that's the thing. Like I'm almost half embarrassed to say them because I don't think I should believe in these things, but I do. Like I know you guys have heard it. The whole thing about a banana on a boat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I've had times where, for example, like I had a new mate fishing with me. And I am watching him just crushed bananas in the morning. He's chopping them up, eating them, putting them in his yogurt. And he didn't bring one on the boat, but that day fishing, we were kind of wreck hopping, and I could not catch anything but gigantic amberjacks, and it was just ruining everybody. You know what it's like to catch a giant amberjack. It's just straight brutal.
Yes.
So that wasn't going to last long, and everybody was getting worn out, and I couldn't get through them. I mean, like 10 feet under the boat, they were just piling on. You couldn't even hit the bottom. And I remember, and then we ended up having a shark problem. Now the sharks are eating the amberjacks, and I was like, and I remember thinking like that was one of those days where that's one of those days I remember believing in that superstition like hard, really hard. And I've had another couple times where we had slow days, and then on the ride in, we'd have one of the guests pull a banana out of their bag and start eating a snack. And I was like, oh my God.
It was there the whole time.
Yeah, I was like, don't tell me this is another one of those things where it's going to be. But I'm not that crazy with it. Like I have friends who, if somebody brings banana boat sunscreen on the boat, they make them throw it in the trash before they get on the boat. I've had captains tell me if somebody has Fruit of the Loom underwear on with the banana and the Fruit of the Loom, they can't come on. They got to go change. I've had people tell me that's how crazy they get with it. I'm not like that. But I've had a few reasons to really question this superstition.
Yeah. Well, to even know what they're wearing for underwear, that's something really kind of weird anyway.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
So this is a question I wanted to ask here. Have you written any songs for Mr. Buffett?
No, sir. But I've been present for many of them that have been written on the boat. I'll tell you that. I've never given any input. Jim, he's asked me a few times, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And, I'll give him my feedback all the time. But I think most of the time when he asks me, what do you think of that? He knows he's onto something good. And it was always like really good. Like, for example, one of his latest songs, Slack Tide, that's on the new album. He played that for us in the Bahamas, and we were all just like, that's still one of my favorite songs that he's ever done. And we were like, holy cow. And this was before, if you guys ever listen to Slack Tide and the meaning behind the song, he wrote it before COVID even happened. So it's crazy the way the song tied in. It's about just going back to neutral, going back to slack tide, finding your peace, like all that kind of, and what's important in life. And it was all before COVID really happened, and it came out right when COVID started. So the meaning to me is it's very ironic the way that it all happened. But so no, I have not helped him, but I've been there to witness a lot of really neat things happening.
Yeah, I think I agree. We're definitely in a slack tide right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you probably I think you already answered this, but how old were you when you caught your first fish, and where were you?
I was 4 or 5, Chesapeake Bay Bay Bridge, right outside of Annapolis.
Nice. So, Captain Vinny, if you could pick anywhere in the world to fish, where would you go?
I'll tell you, that's a hard one for me because I love the Bahamas a lot. Like, has a lot to offer. Whether you're bone fishing on the flats or you do go offshore, I really love the Bahamas for the beauty, the clear water, the weather, how good the fishing is. But at the same time, there's also something about in the Northeast going out on those like cold, foggy mornings, being in that cold, greenish, dark blue water, and fishing for giant bluefins and whales all around you. There's both of those places are two polar opposites. I know it's weird to say that those are my two favorite places in the world to fish. And, I think it just really depends what you're feeling like doing that day. When we go to the Bahamas, we do more hunting, is what I call it. Like the water's so clear, we're looking, we're searching, we're finding the fish, and we do a lot of sight casting there. Whereas,
that's for me. That's what I like doing.
Yeah. And most days I would tell you that's where I'd want to be. But there are those times when there's something that the amount of nature that's up in the Northeast with all, you have all the whales and porpoises around you, and they're just devouring all the sand eels and mackerel all around you. And you got giant bluefins, airing it out all around you, eating the bait and fishing for those giants. There's something about that too. Both of those places stand out to me as my two favorite places I've ever fished. But I know that's a kind of funny answer because they're completely polar opposites. I'm wearing 3 layers of clothes out of the Northeast, whereas in the Bahamas, I'm covered up for the sun. But it's just totally two different things. But if I had to only pick one, I would probably tell you the Bahamas.
Yeah, I'm in with you on that one. Yeah. Dow and I are both from Florida, so we don't do well in cold temperatures.
Yeah.
No, I don't even own a pair of long pants. So Captain Vinny, do you have any funny fishing stories? Maybe one you could share with Jimmy?
Man, there's a lot of them. I would say to tell you, I'll tell you a funny story that isn't like so much in humor, but I'll tell you this story has happened multiple times where, especially when Jimmy's been touring, we wouldn't have a lot of time, but we know that like the weather was pretty good, and he'll fly in, fish, and he'll come in, fish, land at 9, 10 in the morning. We'll fish for a few hours, and he's got to fly out just to get a little fishing in. And we'll come in. We will leave hours after everybody leaves, come in hours before they return. And we usually have, like, for example, we've done that giant tuna fishing so many times, rolled out, put the first line in the water at 9:30, catch one by 11:30, come in, and we're at the dock by 1. And the other guys at the dock left at 3, 4 in the morning. They come in at 6 p.m. and sometimes they didn't even catch anything. Or if they did, that those stories, that's happened to us so many times. And I think that goes along with, I don't call him Jimmy, I call him Mr. Buffett, or Mr. B, but with his luck, he's got incredible luck. And those are some of our funniest fishing stories. It's just like, first rod in the water, you got him on, let's go back in, and he's back for dinner. It's just wild how many times we've done that. It's those are probably some of the funniest days, because we look back at a lot of those stories and we just like, it doesn't really make sense. And it's just crazy with the luck we've had.
So Captain Vinny, what is the next project boat for the future? Do you have your eyes on anything? Do you have your dream boat that you would want to put together?
I've kind of put together everything that we've done so far, I would say, has been our latest dream project, and and the thing is a lot of the design and the vision, it all comes from Jimmy. Just like this whole 42 Pilot House Freeman originated with this was all his idea, and where I'm lucky enough is he lets me design a lot of the systems inside and do a lot of the layout, but he definitely has a lot of input. That's the funny thing about my job versus maybe some other captains' jobs. A lot of captains work for owners that rely on the captain to 100% do everything because the owner, doesn't know as much of the captain. I work for a man who, he likes to run the boat himself. He knows how to use all the systems. He's a real true waterman. So he puts in a lot of the inside. I just kind of follow through with his vision. But the next projects that we've talked about, and we don't have anything set up, anything set in stone. Like, we have a deposit sitting with Freeman. They have that new 47. We've talked about maybe, like I'm saying maybe, like there's been nothing set in stone. We've talked about maybe doing a little bigger version of this. And we're just, this boat's still so new. I mean, we put it in the water last July. We already have 550 hours on it. And that's, and you got to realize too, and we didn't even use the boat March to June of last year. So, because of everybody getting locked up quarantining. So we've done that many hours, and the boat, we've already done 9,500 miles on the boat in that time. So we've done a lot of moving around, a lot of traveling. We still want to use this boat a little more before we make any decisions on the next project to feel like what we really would truly change. And this boat performs so much bigger than it is. Like, what I mean by that is, like, it rides unbelievable. We have incredible range. I mean, at 40 miles an hour, I have a little over 500-mile range. If I back it down to 30, I have like a 700-mile range, So it's,
wow.
There's a lot there that doesn't have us desiring, like, to say, man, we really need to go on to the next project because there's so many things we desire that we don't have. We pretty much have everything. The only thing that might benefit us right now is more space and more room, which is why we've talked about maybe doing something a little bigger, but it's not set in stone at this moment. It's more just, spitballing ideas back and forth and what we might do. But if we do something, it'll end up being a larger version of exactly what we have, and that's what I'm pretty certain on.
Well, I think you said something that's really interesting too. And as a boat captain, your owner knows the systems. He knows the Garmin unit. So if you see him wearing his Aquatic 6 watch, he actually uses it and knows how to use that watch and not just use it for time, So.
Oh, I know. I'm with you. And I'll tell you, like, that's the thing about, and I'm not patting myself on the back by saying this. I'm more talking about Jimmy, and he knows what he's doing. He's not the typical boat owner where, some owners have no interest in running the boat, starting the boat. They're kind of intimidated by the boat. That's why they have a captain. I mean, when he steps on the boat, I turn into the mate, 90%, 95% of the time. He wants to run the boat. I go back and I start rigging up. He, like you said, if you look at any of his, pictures you find of him online, social media, all that, I think you'd be hard pressed to find one he's not wearing his Garmin watch. He wears it every single day, and he uses it to, to run the autopilot. And he's telling me what the water temp is from his watch. And he's really into the tech part of it. He's really a technical person, and he loves he loves gadgets that really kind of help you perform, and efficient gadgets like all the stuff Garmin's putting out. Like, as I was saying, if anybody's listening and you look at his social media, I think you'd probably find him wearing that watch, and he knows how to use it. He shows me how to do things with this stuff a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move along. Captain Vinnie, this next section here is kind of a rapid fire section. We're going to do 10 rapid fire questions here. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Favorite pizza topping?
Pepperoni.
If Jimmy was eating a banana, would you let him on the boat?
He can do anything he wants.
3 things you would bring if stranded on a deserted island.
Includes like modern technology?
Sure.
Garmin inReach, a bucket, and a lighter.
Nice. Nickname your parents or friends used to call you?
Everybody just always called me Vinny.
Favorite musical group?
Oh, man. I feel like I have to say my boss.
Careful.
Yeah.
Well, we'll give you that one. So we'll give you that as a given.
You can't
All
work
right.
for a
Second favorite musical group.
I would say, well, it's not really a group. I love country music. I would say probably I love a lot of the stuff Jason Aldean's doing lately. He's like on my playlist constantly.
What hairstyle did you have in high school?
Mess it up. Spiky.
I still have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pick one, super strength or become invisible.
Super strength.
What's your most unusual talent?
I would say I've had so many people on the boat say, "How'd you know the fish were here?" I get weird feelings. And I'm not talking about I'm not talking about always seeing them on the depth sounder. I just get these weird feelings sometimes, and they end up paying off a lot enough that people kind of get freaked out.
Favorite Garmin Marine unit?
8600 series.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Captain Vinnie, thanks for joining us on this episode of Behind the Chartplotter. We appreciate you answering our serious and not so serious questions. Hopefully, we didn't put you on the hot seat too much. So, to learn more about Captain Vinnie, The Last Mango, and Freedom Fighter Outdoors, make sure to follow them on Instagram at Captain Vinnie LaSorsa, at Freedom Fighter Outdoors, and at Last Mango Boatworks.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Captain Vinnie. Join us next month on Behind the Chartplotter, where we'll get to know a legend in the fishing industry, and a little hint, he's a huge Tennessee fan. On behalf of John and myself, we want to thank you for joining us. A special thanks to the Marty Ray Project for that great song. Until next time, we'll see you on the water.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about all the things Garmin has got you through. We can talk about lakes and the ocean too. 'Cause our host Dowe and John wanna hear about the fishing you do. 'Cause we took our Garmin to the ends of the sea. The radar led us where we needed to be. Nothing we can't find in all the waters. We want to hear about the holes and the beds and the reef, the keepers and the roughs and the catch and release. Let's talk about everything from reel to bobber. Behind the Chartplotter. Yeah.